Hey everybody, welcome to the Fire It Up with CJ show. Today we're going to be talking about creativity and how you inspire your own creativity, whether at work, at home, in your life generally. And we have Nick Seneca Jankel, who is the author of Switch On, How to Ignite Your Creative Spirit with the New Science of Breakthrough. So tell me a little bit about what inspired this book.
Switched on and fired up. Many things. Probably the most important thing is the desire to write a book that I wish I'd been given when I was maybe 15 or 16 and kind of didn't want to be religious, didn't make sense to me to be religious. And the only alternative seemed to be atheism, which didn't work that well for me over 10 years of trying to sort of firmly being an atheist and sort of realizing, hold on, I think I'm missing something. But I also wanted to write a book that really integrated my two great loves, which is science and spirituality, which many people think are contradictory, but I believe are one thing, really, just different aspects of the same thing. And so I wanted to write a book that could talk about enlightenment in a way that wasn't weird or woo-woo or full of strange exercises and things you have to do, and something you could live in real life with, but bring the magic of interconnected thinking and feeling into it. So that's when the idea Switched On came from, and then I had to try and create a lens for it, a frame, because it's a big topic: science, spirituality, enlightenment, changing the world, changing yourself. So I worked for a long time in creativity, and I work a lot in creativity still. So I wanted to create a lens to focus this big topic, and creativity was what I chose. And since then, it's really kind of a gift that keeps on giving, really understanding each moment as pregnant with possibility, as the kind of nature of existence, the sort of basic understanding of how the universe works is creative. And then sort of drilling down from that mega idea to, well, how do I put my kids to bed and make sure it's fresh and appropriate and creative in this moment, and not just some habit I got into. So from these micro moments where life plays out, where it's so easy just to go cynical, skeptical, angry, scared, whatever habit we're used to. It's so easy to do that. And actually, it's those micro moments where the quality of our life is created in the literally creation by creation by creation.
Yeah, I talked to Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. and one of the things that he said to me, it was during New Year's, and he said, you know what, it's about waking up as a brand new baby every day, every moment, and having, like you said, every single moment is ripe with creativity. And if we can just wake up with a fresh pair of eyes, we can tap into that creativity. And what I enjoyed so much about your book is that I think it seems like you've been studying and researching and reading lots and lots of of text. And to me, what you did is synthesize, stuff that I've read from the, Yoga Sutras. You've taken stuff from myself from the nonprofit community. You've taken stuff from every single discipline, whether it's business or spirituality, science, and you kind of merged it into a very, very, very simple framework that what I applaud about it is that you can talk. And I was thinking, because I come from the business world, and I thought you could really talk to a business person and they would digest this. Because a lot of business folks, if you went in and try to talk about spiritual concepts or ancient wisdom, they'd be like, hold on a second, don't bring religion into the workplace. No. Or if you even talk to them about meditation, some of them are still probably resistant. But this is a really beautiful framework because it distills all the key concepts in a way that doesn't feel frightening. Have you found that when you've been working? Have you found that with corporations?
With businesses? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So have you found that with businesses, are they digesting it, or are they kind of like, what is this stuff?
It's interesting because up until about 6 months ago, I did my best to try and keep my two sort of hats, a little bit different. I mean, I was saying the same stuff, always the same basic idea, got to connect, got to love yourself, got to feel love in order to feel the freedom you need to be able to create. And it's about surrender, and you've got to let go before you get anything. These are all the kind of basic principles that I teach and live my life by. But I had these two little hats. One was slightly more innovation and leadership, which is the business term for creativity and spirit, basically. And then there was the sort of more, more I can be more sort of out there with sort of the public to some degree. And over the last 6 months, part of my learning, part of my switching on, part of my breakthrough has been to bring those two things together and say, you know what, there's one Nick, one guy, and whether I'm talking at Downing Street or if I'm talking, as I was on Sunday at a international research conference on psychedelics, either one, you get the same me.
Wow.
And I might change grammar a little bit, to choose different stories, whatever. But you're getting the same authentic truth that works. And I've been blown away by the response from business. I mean, there's still, I have to be careful. I can't push things too far, but I've been amazed by, the response. I mean, to give you one little story, I did a keynote speech maybe 2 months ago for a big motor company, that's something you just would not think would be interested in this kind of stuff.
Right.
And people were loving it, and this guy came up to me afterwards, maybe 55, 60, suit, German, and I was like, oh dear. And he said, I've got, a bone to pick with you. And I was like, oh dear, what's he going to say? So first of all, I think you're like a cross between Che Guevara and like a Buddha. You're like a kind of rebellious sort of love merchant. I was like, actually, that's a very accurate way of sort of bringing me out. He said, you know what? You talk a lot about the business and everything, and about how you value businesses through the Wall Street, and valuations and whatever. He said, what about love? We need more love in this business. We didn't mention love once. And I was like, oh my God, this is a message from the universe saying it's okay to go a little bit further and actually use love instead of. So, often when I use the word love, I would say empathy or purpose.
Right.
But actually, I've been started saying love more. I was at number 10 Downing Street in front of all the ministers of the British government. Not the ministers, sorry, the heads of all the ministries, the civil servants. And I said the word conscious leadership, and I said the word, heart-led working, and people were, this is great, it's exactly what we want, more of that.
Yeah.
They often don't have the words, they don't have the permission. And that's kind of what I do, is I give them permission and give them language for something they've already felt,
And how are you doing it? Because one of the things that I think is a struggle, I've talked to a couple of different people who are trying to integrate in the United States, integrate these ideas into corporations. And, what I hear is, I want to do that, but the shareholders won't let me do that. And what I need from you as a consumer is feedback that this stuff matters. Because if you don't give me feedback, I'm not empowered, because I can't easily translate this to the bottom line. That's what I hear, at least from senior executives, from people who work with senior executives here in the U.S. What would you say to them?
Well, I work across the world. I've worked, in many countries. I work in the US regularly, and it's kind of like, first of all, the kind of companies that are inspired by what I have to say, already there's a bit of selection there. So, there are some companies that just probably are not ready to hear what I've got to say, or people like me, and that's okay. They're on a journey. I guess the thing that I do, which I'm probably quite unique on, is that I've been running an innovation and leadership startup for 15 years, and during that time I've been an entrepreneur as well and growing companies. So I'm really of this world. I'm really in this thing. I understand about margins. I understand about money being really important and profit being useful, because you can't grow without it. And so I get all that stuff. But I'm also deeply and profoundly and absolutely committed to oneness, to bringing love and compassion into every moment we can. And so, for some reason, because I can lead with a kind of, I'm helping you have breakthrough business ideas here. This is what I'm not. They don't bring me in the kind of make us better because we're not a good company, because we're a bit evil. That's not the brief. The brief to me is, we know you can help us grow big ideas. And my answer is, great, big ideas these days have to be purpose-led, socially and sustainably aligned. And ultimately, the bigger the idea, it depends upon how much passion you have for a vision for the world, which is love, right? So that's kind of my way around that, is to say, we're here to break through. Oh, and by the way, to really break through is all about connecting to spirit.
Okay. And so when you say that, you say, okay, they're hiring you ostensibly for innovation and that kind of stuff. But when you say, here are the three key ingredients, it's about, purpose, it's about love. Is there a reaction like, or they're like, yeah, you're right, or like, what's your reaction? Because that's like a hugely different message than they probably have ever gotten. It's usually about, it's like getting, your costs down. It's, they have like these messages. It's about efficiency. It's about engagement. It's all about these kind of buzzwords. So what's the reaction when you say that?
I mean, so first of all, I've always called ourselves a creative management consultancy. We're not here to snip and trim. We're here to grow. Mm-hmm. Grow your top line rather than grow your bottom line. Mm-hmm. Grow the revenues, grow the scale and size of what you do, but do it ethically. And you know what? Everyone, particularly my generation and younger, so sort of Gen X, Gen Y, they want that. No one I've ever met in a business, ever, including senior guys, has ever wanted to mess the world up with their work.
Right.
I'm sure there are some people in some companies, but I've worked with maybe over 100 Fortune 500 companies. And I've never met a single person who didn't want to bring sustainability and social impact and purpose into their work. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's challenging because you've got sort of mixed signals from the city, from Wall Street, from institutional investors and whatever, but they also want that too, right? And so do the people putting the money in the pension funds. And so the whole system is sort of saying, oh, maybe there's a sort of more ethical, aligned, switched on way of doing this whole thing. And all I'm doing, as many others, including yourself, I'm sure, we are just sort of helping the system go, oh, there's actually a way of doing this which isn't radically different, but yet it is kind of radically different. And it comes from, you have to make tough choices. Ultimately, somewhere along the way, you have to make some compromise.
Okay, but what's the proof? So I'm imagining myself, like, even before hiring you to come in, right? First of all, like you said, it's a self-selected audience. I mean, the fact that they are having you in, they're already they're open to these ideas.
Right.
But I'm imagining I'm the HR person trying to figure out whether to have Nick in, and I'm like, okay, what are the results? So, right? I mean, that's how you make
right now. Going, oh, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah, like, okay, I'd love to have this guy in. It totally matches with the thing that I believe in, but what proof can he give me that this is true? Like, I want to swallow the pill and believe, but what proof do you have that this is true?
I mean, that's where the science comes in really handy. And so my work is peppered with the latest science. So I spend maybe 4 hours every week reading the science journals, making sure I've got the latest stuff. And the great news, this is like one of the most exciting things, actually, I'm writing a second book, and that's really inspiring this book, is almost everything I read. I mean, look, actually, hold on, where is it? Look, this is the front page of Scientific American from August. This month's Scientific American, like the #1 public magazine for science. And the front cover is How We Conquered the Planet. Our species wield the ultimate weapon, cooperation. Mm-hmm. So you've already got science saying we're empathic, we're cooperative, purpose saves our lives, purpose reduces stress.
Right.
You've got all this science coming in saying we're more than we think we are, we're deeply compassionate, ethical, beautiful human beings, we're creative, blah, blah, blah. All I'm doing is packaging that up with some of the wisdom traditions and some big things like gratitude, surrender, those the big lessons, and saying, oh, and by the way, this actually makes sense for how you do innovation. And the way I do that is I start by saying, one thing all the people who book me want is breakthroughs. They want breakthroughs. They want leadership breakthroughs. They want team breakthroughs. They want business breakthroughs. So I come in and I say, okay, what's the breakthrough? And then I was like, whoa, and I give them a little bit of a narrative. And so we basically come to the realization of a breakthrough is when you don't do the same thing that everyone else did or used to do in the past. So that's the level of the hands, behavior.
Right.
I go, how do you get a break? How do you get a behavior breakthrough? And then they go, oh, maybe you have to think differently. I go, great. So that's the head, right? The second level in. And so how do you think differently? This is the magic bit. And they're like, I don't know, you just have to think different. I go, yeah, well, here's the deal. Your brain is wired to think the same if you're scared and in survival and stressed. So if you want to not think the same, you have to be passionate, open, and available.
Okay, bing! That's when the little light bulb goes on.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the heart. And then you go, and so how do you get that? So how do you feel open and available when you're stressed out? They go, well, that is basically what spirit is. It's connection. And so with that, I don't use the word spirit, by the way, in this kind of...
What do you use in that scenario?
I use the word heart, connection.
Okay, purpose. That's what purpose is.
The
Yeah.
feeling of interconnection, the feeling of peace, equanimity, mindfulness, heartfulness. I mean, there are lots of words depending on who I'm working with. And suddenly, I've taken them from a business goal to the realization they have to switch on in their heart, which is a spiritual choice or spiritual experience. But I've never used the word spiritual. They don't need to know that. It's not important.
Right.
And then some of them come afterwards and go, wow, where's this whole interconnection? So I do a lot of visualizations and meditations. I did one recently with a super amazing guy and super atheist in a non-profit. And it's my classic meditation, which is a head, hand, heart meditation and a breakthrough. It's a breakthrough meditation. It's a switched on meditation. And he goes, it's kind of like a secular prayer, isn't it?
Sorry.
He clocked me and walked out smiling. But and so I'm kind of like, it's kind of like under the radar, but it's not under the radar. I'm also saying it very clearly. I mean, my book says spirit on it. There's switch on, And I was scared. I have to be honest with you. When I came out with this book a few months back, I was like, well, the rabbit's going to be out the hat now. I can't hide my spirituality away anymore. It says it completely clearly throughout the book.
Right.
And I've had people who I thought were really square, beige chino people. And these guys are like emailing me going, I love your book, I love this chapter, quite senior people in government, senior people in the kind of ideas space. Last week I was at Aspen Ideas Festival, really super premium ideas space at the Aspen Institute. And I was doing a talk on science and spirituality, and people were sitting there enjoying it, wanting it. Harvard professors or whatever.
Wow, so, I'm shocked. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's moving. It's shifting. People want more, and if anything, I'm trying to say to myself, be braver. Come out with more.
Yeah, push yourself to go out more because people want it and they're afraid. So if you say it's okay, like I'm a guy just like you, and I want it, then it gives them the permission. Like I want it too, Nick.
I'm a guy, I like wearing nice clothes, I like having nice things, I like design, I'm a raver, I'm a partier, I'm an entrepreneur, I love doing stuff in the world, I've got kids, I've got a wife, I've been divorced, I've had lots of ups and downs, I've been depressed, I've had fibromyalgia. I'm just a normal dude with all the normal stuff that occurs in someone's life. And I've discovered that this stuff is really important.
Yeah.
Not just really important, it's the most important thing. And I think particularly partly because I was an atheist for so long. And so I had to work hard to be spiritual in some ways. I had to let go of so much baggage, intellectual baggage. As I said in Aspen, I went to Cambridge University, studied science, and Cambridge is literally like the high temple, the uber altar of atheism in the world. I mean, it's you are a rationalist, mechanistic person. If that's what Cambridge is about. I mean, it's the birthplace of the
logic.
Birthplace of mechanism was in Cambridge. And so for me, I had to let go of so much about, this stuff is nonsense, this is just, blah, blah, made up, whatever.
You can't prove anything. That's what I hear all the time.
That's why I had to write this book, because the book was really me saying to myself, if this doesn't fit with what science tells us, then there is a serious issue. Because science is really good at telling us about stuff it can observe. It's not good at telling us about stuff inside. So, but if what's inside is contradicting what we're observing outside, then either the science is wrong or our philosophy is wrong. Mm-hmm. And the great news is it doesn't contradict it. It really doesn't. So yes, you can't analyze purpose, but you can measure people who have more purpose and they are healthier and they have less stroke and they have a better quality of life and they live longer. So you just have to go, well, okay, if the wisdom traditions say purpose is important and science says purpose helps us live longer and have better lives, what's not to like? better get me some purpose.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
It's interesting. All right, so we've been talking to Nick Seneca Jankel about his book Switch On: How to Ignite Your Creative Spirit with the New Science of Breakthrough. It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.